Okay, welcome everyone to the TBD Pod emergency podcast today. We had to have someone in who knows so much about Tampa Bay sports. JP Peterson, welcome to the show.
Garrett, thanks, man. Appreciate it.
I appreciate you being here.
You having me on here. I love your studio here. This is cool.
Thanks, man.
I watched some of your episodes. You don't have sports guys on, so I'm very honored to be on. You have like big hitters, like big money people. Yeah.
Well, I guess
glad you didn't ask for a W-2.
Vinik
I would be invited.
Well, no. Vinik is probably the only sports guy, right, David?
Yeah.
I mean, technically,
probably, yeah.
He's an owner,
but he's much more than a sports guy. He's
right.
The greatest owner in the history of sports, let's just be honest.
He's so beloved by the community because of what he's done. And it's really not just about that team. It's about the whole district he's created surrounding the team. The fan base is so excited about Water Street. People love it. I mean, it's a successful piece of the city.
He has connected himself with this community unlike any owner we've ever seen, and just brilliantly done so and executed with a grassroots movement from the very beginning. You know, the Community Hero Program is the greatest, I think, philanthropic move I've ever seen by an owner, but also just incredibly savvy from a business standpoint of, you know, an outside owner coming from Boston, you know, coming down here. I mean, you juxtapose, as we'll get into the Rays, the way Jeffrey Vinik did it compared to Stu Sternberg, and it's 180 degrees. He completely engrossed himself in this community. The Community Hero Program was just one of the greatest things ever. $50,000 a game. I have a great story about that. Many, many years ago, Matt Silverman and I were having lunch, and I think Jeffrey Vinik had been about a year into his community program, and I was saying, you know, this is something Stu ought to really get into. You know, if he's having issues connecting with the community, this is something he should do. $50,000 a game. It's insane. It's incredible, but it's working. And he's like, let's see if he's still doing that in a year.
Right.
Well, 14 years later and $50 million or whatever it is, he's still doing it. And he's connected to the community like nobody we've ever seen. And of course, produced Water Street, all the jobs and the redevelopment, was able to get it done without any, you know, all the shenanigans going on with the city and the county that we see that Stu has issues with, because Jeffrey Vinik knows how to own a team. He knows how to do it. He's been amazing.
And right, he didn't just buy a team to buy a team. He bought a team to be a part of a community.
Exactly.
And that is so
different. It wasn't always
different.
about making money,
No.
which was always been the main driver for Stu Sternberg.
And without even saying that explicitly, this community knows that.
Absolutely.
This community has felt that.
Absolutely.
And so much so that people have been putting all over on my comments when we released that Jeff Vinik episode, Jeff Vinik, buy the Rays. You got to save us, man. Buy the, you know, people were fired up because they know he's such a good owner and such a fantastic member of the community.
Unfortunately, I don't think that's part of the deal, but we'll get into that. But
we will get into it right now.
It might be. I don't know.
I want to dive in, and I want to start off with the Rays about an hour ago put out the statement without me reading the whole thing. I'll read the last two sentences. After careful deliberation, we have concluded we cannot move forward with the new ballpark and development project at this moment. A series of events beginning in October that no one could have anticipated led to this difficult decision. October being hurricanes and the subsequent vote of the county to delay, yada, yada. City of St. Petersburg is currently advancing plans to restore the field, Tropicana Field 2026 season. We are thankful for their efforts and excited to return next spring. So the Rays
Don't forget about that other part up there, which I want to talk about. Our commitment to the vitality and success of the Rays organization is unwavering. We continue to focus on finding a ballpark solution that serves the best interest of our region, Major League Baseball, and our organization. With all due respect, time's up. You've had your chance.
So what does that top part mean to you? To me, it's kind of two different things, right? On the last sentence, in the last paragraph, they say restore Tropicana Field. But in the top paragraph, they're saying focus on finding a ballpark, meaning not Tropicana Field.
I mean, let's be honest. He can't get a deal done in Hillsborough. Nobody wants to work with him. There's incredible mistrust, obviously, after what happened in St. Pete and what happened in Hillsborough, you know, back at the original Ybor deal. Don't forget, we had the same hit and run play that he just pulled on St. Pete. He went in there. We had a press conference. We had the renderings. This is where it's going to go. Going to be here for generations to come. We love Tampa Bay. and then got to the finish line, and he took his ball and went home, and then blamed everybody else. Same exact hit and run play that he ran on St. Pete and Pinellas. And he said Hillsborough didn't have any money. They had money. It wasn't buttoned up as well as it should have been, but there was a framework to get a stadium done. And then he blamed the business community and having no support, which was a complete lie. I was part of the Rays 100, that group that was working to show him how much money. We pledged $160 million in premium seating for the new stadium, and that was just in the beginning. So he just blamed everybody else, and of course, everybody believed what he said.
Sure.
And
well,
I never did. We took him to task for that on our show, but and he did the same exact thing in St. Pete. And this right here, I predicted this. On the day that they signed the agreement at Tropicana Field and the commissioners were up there with the pom-poms, woo, the Rays are here to say, I said, let's see the deal. Let's see what the numbers are. And then the numbers came out and it said he's going to pay $700 million plus cost overruns. And I said, that ain't never happening. A guy that wouldn't even pay $150 million for the deal in Hillsborough County is now suddenly going to pay $700 million. I understand there was a lot of real estate benefits built into that.
Sure.
But even with that, and what happened? It wasn't enough.
So you don't think he ever intended?
No.
You think that what he wanted was just a sweetheart deal from the business community, the taxpayers. He wanted to take. He didn't give a shit where he eventually ended up. He just wanted the best deal for his investment.
Major League Baseball never wanted to build another stadium in St. Petersburg. They never wanted it in St. Pete to begin with. They got it because Vince Naimoli threatened litigation. And it was always Bud Selig way back when said, yeah, the eventual plan is to move it to Tampa. It's Major League Baseball has always wanted it in Tampa. It's a no-brainer. And
right.
There's nothing to do with St. Pete bad. St. Pete, great. They don't need a baseball stadium. It's an unbelievable downtown, ripe for development, and they don't need a baseball stadium. It's not a place for a baseball stadium. The demographics don't work. Mm-hmm. There's 600,000 people within a 30-minute drive. Major League Baseball's guideline rule for stadiums is 1.5 million.
Wow.
That's why they never wanted it there.
Less than half.
They knew it would fail because of that reason. And there's a lot of demographic studies that go into that because baseball it's an urban game. It's an 81-game season. There are a lot of Monday through Thursday games. So that's their rules. So it was doomed from the beginning. And Major League Baseball does not want to build another stadium right next to a failed location. And that's why, as we move this conversation forward, I think it's going to be in Tampa. But that's why I thought this deal would never get done, because it didn't work financially. In the long term, you're still going to have huge attendance problems. You're still going to have problem getting premium seating sold, which is a lifeblood of any Major League Baseball team, because of the location. So I never thought it would get done. And I think from the very beginning, it was a land grab because he structured the deal separate. The stadium financing and the real estate deal was completely separate. And had the Pinellas folks not passed the bonds, or the St. Pete folks at the end and defaulted on the contract, he would have had legal rights to move forward with the real estate portion of that deal and getting that $700-800 million worth of property for $50 million up front and another $50 million in 10 years. Complete boondoggle. So that's why Pinellas passed the bonds, even when Chris Lopfula didn't want to vote for it, because Rob Manfred came in and said, pass the bonds. The commissioner, pass the bonds. Don't worry, pass the bonds. We don't want him to have legal rights to getting that deal. This is my opinion. This is me reading the tea leaves. I'm not reporting this as fact, but in the people that I've talked to and the way the deal was structured, this is what I believe happened. And so Manfred, remember when he came out and said, and even Ken Welch said this, he didn't say Major League Baseball is committed to keeping baseball in St. Pete. He said keeping it in Tampa Bay. Chris Lopfula of the commission said the same thing. Because I think basically they were told, look, we're not going to be able to get this deal done. Stu's doesn't have the money. You're going to be able to develop this area the way you want to do it without strings attached with the Rays. They're not going anywhere. They're not leaving the market. If you vote against this, he'll be able to get the real estate. But if you vote for it, the Rays will still remain in Tampa Bay. He pledged that to the city of St. Pete, I believe. I've been told that they're not moving anywhere. But he never promised it be in St. Pete. He said it's going to be in Tampa Bay. And that's because they now have this elite group of businessmen that have come together in Tampa. There's 3 groups, and there's a kind of as yet to be named group. The Athletic did name Dan Doyle as part of that group. I think he is, but I haven't been able to confirm that in my reporting, but The Athletic reported that. And I do know some names of the other extremely big hitters that will be universally beloved by the area, have all the political clout they need and Tampa ties to get the public money part of it done. Will be, again, deep pockets, able to build a stadium, able to finance a competitive payroll,
right,
and be able to keep the great players here for long term, which obviously helps in cultivating a fan base. So all of that is on the horizon, and I think Major League Baseball is really going to make this happen.
So the most important thing to me is just good ownership.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
Does it matter whether the stadium stays in St. Pete or is in Ybor City? It's like the best thing that could come of this is Stu gets out and we have good local ownership that really understands the community, right?
Because we've never had that in baseball.
Mm-mm.
You know, and everybody wants to rag on Tampa Bay as a baseball market. We've had the worst located stadium. And again, not worse because it's in St. Pete. I'm just talking about location, demographics. St. Pete's awesome. But the worst location in terms of not being accessible to most of the market Monday through Thursday. We've had a terrible stadium. I mean, that place is awful.
Yeah.
You know, they've done a great job putting lipstick on that pig, as we like to say. And I credit the Rays for spending money to make it as, agreeable as possible. But it's awful. I mean, if you've ever been to a real baseball stadium, come on.
I want to have some sunshine on my
exactly.
My skin,
it's
know
made,
what I mean?
Baseball's made to be played outside. I understand the heat and all that, but I can't wait to get into Steinbrenner Field and play outdoor baseball. But so we've had a poorly located stadium, a horrible stadium that nobody wants to go to. People want to be inspired when they go to a stadium. They want to be inspired, not feel like they're at the dentist office or a Walmart, which is what the Trop felt like to me. So terrible stadium, terrible location, terrible owners. Mm-hmm. And Namoli was vilified. The fan base hated him. Obviously, he did a great job getting the team here. And now Sternberg, nobody wants to support him because of the way he's done this. So
he's burned every bridge imaginable.
Right, exactly. So how do you're not going to get support? I mean, some of the people in the media found it like unbelievable. Like, how do they not draw? They win. How do people not come? It must be the fault of the market. It's the fans' fault. I see this, in the Times.
They talked about that for years.
Yeah. And
that's what they've always said.
I'm like, you got the worst located stadium. It's a horrible stadium. It's uninspiring. And you got an owner that nobody wants to give their money to.
We're in downtown Tampa right now. We're not even close to some of the fan bases twice the distance from the stadium than we are right now. And it would be a pain in the ass for us to go to a baseball game, cross that bridge, go to downtown St. Pete. Everyone knows that.
Yeah.
It's logistically a bad spot.
I understand. They do it in other markets. Those are historical markets, and it's a totally different deal. But the weekends is not a problem. They do fine attendance-wise on the weekend. It's Monday through Thursday.
Right.
And when a busy work day, school day, to get your family over there and get them back, and going to an uninspiring place, it's just not – this day and age, the old idea of if you win, they will come is an archaic 70s, 80s pro sports model. It's different now. You got to have a wonderful environment. You got to entertain the people. You got to have the great venue. It's got to be easy to get to.
Look at the Savannah Bananas.
Yeah, exactly.
That's exactly your point, right? It's more of a show, an entertainment spectacle. It's not about, my team's winning.
Right.
Like, people do care about that, right? True baseball fans do. But at the end of the day, we want to be entertained.
Yeah. And it's like the Lightning.
As far as I understand, they sold out like 60-something thousand tickets to that Bananas thing they're doing.
And that's a different, that's a one-off thing.
Well, of course. But
all you have to do is look at the Lightning.
Sure.
The Lightning have a great venue, tremendous stadium. They have a great location, downtown Tampa. It's accessible to all people, to all the areas. And they have a great product. They win just like the Rays do. The Rays win. Rays don't win championships, but they win. They get into playoffs. The Lightning win championships. That's a whole nother level. And they have an owner that people like and support. Right. That's a huge part of it.
Part of it.
I think in Tampa Bay more than anywhere, because people, first of all, don't have a lot of money. We're low per capita income. So it's much more of a commitment to pay the money. And so you got to feel good about, it's like anything in business. If you're a businessman, you want to make it as attractive as anything you can do to get that money. I mean, especially now, disposable income, I got decisions. I got a lot of options. And that's really expensive. It's hard to get to. Sometimes the games aren't so great. It's not a great atmosphere. It's a tough sell.
It is a tough sell.
It's a tough sell. And then you don't like the owner, you don't want to put money in his pocket.
Everything says no, right?
Exactly.
Everything almost.
Oh, I can't believe people don't show up. I mean,
Yeah, it's kind of a no-brainer,
It's not
right?
really a mystery.
So let's track this new deal from the beginning, right? Obviously, you've been following this for a long, long time. The reason I reached out to you is because you've been following specifics about a new Rays deal. I think you put something up, you said about 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
This was when you had inklings of conversations of some local group looking at buying the Rays.
Yeah.
And as far as you could tell me, offline is about what you can say online.
Yeah.
Which is that you can't reveal names, but it's prominent group of businessmen from the area, or at least have deep ties to this area.
Absolutely. And nationally known as well. And, I was talking with David Sampson, the former president of the Marlins. He was on my show yesterday. And one of the points he made was, because he's been through all these deals and bought and sold and obviously very well connected within Major League Baseball. And if your group's going public, like the Malloy group and Carter's group, usually and I'm not denigrating them at all, but usually that's a sign they're trying to get Major League Baseball to look at them and like, hey, we're in this too. It means that there's somebody else that Major League Baseball is looking at is probably a favored group. And that's what I've been told, that there is a favored group that has deep pockets that will be universally accepted, big names. And again, I do know some of the names that I can't divulge them, but they want to remain anonymous.
Sure.
And those groups typically are the ones that emerge as the leaders. And I think they are the ones. Now, I've also been told, which I think is fascinating, that, you have the Malloy group, which it's been publicly stated that DeBartolo is in that group, the DeBartolo family. And then you have Carter McCain's group, which is more, they have some minority owners that are in the Tampa Bay area that he told me about, but a lot of their money is coming from outside. Doesn't make them not viable, by the way.
Carter McCain, for those listening, is the attorney that represents this particular group.
Yes. Kind of their local voice.
Sure.
And with a couple other local investors.
And what Carter McCain said on your show is that the investors not only have ties to sports, but also entertainment in a big way.
Big way.
He said some crazy stuff, like, giving examples about the Sphere in Las Vegas and entertainment districts around the country. So this particular group is looking at this from a very comprehensive way. It's not just about baseball, right? It's much like what Vinnick has done with Water Street, where you're creating an entertainment district. Yes, baseball is a component, but it's not the only component.
Right. And, they're talking about doing an amphitheater of some type to go along with it. Like, baseball isn't even the main spoke in the wheel.
Wow.
It's that big is their plan for their entertainment district. And I don't know the specific plans of the as yet unnamed third group, as I like to call them, the elite businessmen. But my sense is that they would do the same thing. The numbers really don't work without it.
Sure.
And, from a real estate standpoint, you want to build, if you're going to build a huge entertainment complex, $5-6 billion with residential entertainment complex, office buildings, the whole nine, you certainly don't want to do it on the edge of the market in St. Petersburg.
Well, no, but kind of to that point, though, the real estate development component, it almost sounds like Pinellas County was giving Stu the opportunity to create his own Water Street.
Right.
But the will of the owner, right, from Stu himself, he wasn't connected enough to really see that vision and sell that vision through to the public.
I don't know why he didn't ultimately go through with the deal, because the real estate profits would have paid for his portion of the stadium.
Right.
So I don't know, except the only thing I can think of is just the projections were so bad. And interestingly enough, Brian Auld, the now infamous call to Commissioner Scott and Pinellas that Commissioner Scott revealed at a meeting where he said, listen, I'm trying to keep this deal together and I'm doing everything I can to, our projections are looking, our costs are going up and our in revenues are going down. I'm trying to keep this deal together. That was what he told Commissioner Scott. At least that's what Commissioner Scott said. Brian Auld has since said I didn't say that, but I'm gonna lean towards the folks that have been very trustworthy in this process, and that's the commissioners. So I think that deal was never a good deal for the city or the county. And it's a failed location. So you're going to spend what would amount to $2.4 billion in public money, which was the cost of the stadium plus interest. So that's 1.4. And then what you were losing in what you would sell to a developer, if you were just going to develop it without baseball, you'd probably make $1 billion on the real estate. Wouldn't have to pay for infrastructure because developers do that. So the cost to the public was more like 2.4, 2.5 billion. And when you also factor in the lost real estate taxes. So all that, or you can develop it on your own and make money.
It almost sounds like in a way.
And my point is the long-term revenue for the baseball team was so bad long-term because they knew the attendance wouldn't and the premium seating wouldn't get sold. The numbers just didn't work. And they didn't work from the beginning.
Right.
Which tells me, did they ever really want to build a stadium? I think their excuse to get out because of the Hurricanes is convenient, but I don't think they were ever going through with the deal.
Well,
because the numbers don't work. So the numbers changed so much in a year.
Yeah.
Because of a couple hurricanes.
Right.
I'm a little
fish in
dubious.
the water a little bit there.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Now, this is horrible to say. I'm going to try to figure out a way to softly say it because I don't want to say Pinellas County got lucky with the hurricanes, right? Because it was horrible.
Yeah.
The amount of damage it caused was probably the largest storm that's hit this area in at least 100 years. But for that deal in particular, I think the taxpayers of Pinellas County got lucky because that was a shitty deal for them.
Terrible.
To give up that real estate development. Terrible deal. They should, in a way, wipe their hands and be like, okay, get this guy out of here.
I think Mayor Welch has come to that.
Sure.
Yeah, I think he's finally realized that. And we've had a couple developers, and I don't know their names, the one that did the high rise in St. Pete that's building another one. And he was asked, if the Rays leave, is that bad? He's like, no, it's good. That's more for us to develop.
Exactly.
And we can develop it in a better way. It doesn't work for them for baseball. It clogs up the streets. They have parking garages. It's the revenue that it brings in goes to the Rays, not to the city.
Well, a great example is this picture right here, right? This map is flipped. So looking north is actually looking east. But the urban core, the downtown of St. Pete, does perfectly well, is better than downtown Tampa.
Yes.
I hate to say it, but it's
true.
It's fantastic. We'll beat them one day, JP. But
it's not an us versus them. It's a we.
That's true.
It's a we.
We're all in this together, right?
That's right.
Tampa Bay.
That's right.
But look how fantastic that downtown is
amazing.
without baseball. So you could do
the
the same damn thing on that western side where the redevelopment side is without a baseball stadium and be completely fine.
Absolutely.
And there's no reason why you couldn't add some sort of a venue component, an amphitheater, whatever.
Thank you.
You just don't need baseball.
Right.
So
a smaller amphitheater for and then you could, as Commissioner Lopoulos said on my show, take Al Lang and get that back to spring training where it used to be with the Cardinals and the Yankees.
Now we're talking.
Bring spring training back to downtown Tampa. That's about 25 games, replaces the 81 games that the Rays were doing, and it's an actual bonus in terms of revenue brought in because people are coming from out of town to watch these games. It's a revenue generator, as opposed to most people who go to Rays games are local. They're not staying overnight, So I think that's a better. And then a convention center site, which, it would be huge for St. Pete.
And St. Pete does have
and then
some
connect
cool
that with a light rail to the beaches.
Well, St. Pete does have really cool stuff. Like they do the Grand Prix over there.
Yeah.
They've got some cool events that they could expand with a sort of exposition center, which is, again, you don't get those opportunities necessarily with the stadium.
It's a once in a generation.
The stadium takes up so much space.
Yeah. And to the today there was another story in the Times about the NAACP, demanding that they extend the window to get the stadium done because there's a component of $50 million that's coming back to the Black community in terms of the museum and other affordable housing and things like that. And there was a line in the Times story that said that won't be done unless this deal is done. Well, that's untrue. In fact, if this deal is not done, which it's not going to be done, now they can sell to developers and get huge chunks of cash. You want $50 million? Hell, the Black community deserves more than $50 million. If they were displaced, now you could have $100 million going to the Black community in terms of rebuild minority businesses building this redevelopment. And these are long-term jobs. These aren't these aren't usher jobs at a stadium that are minimum wage. These are long-term jobs, careers that you could have in all different types of commercial development there. So,
I mean, it goes deep, right? Like, I think every avenue you could talk about is a better scenario for Pinellas County, St. Pete, the region as a whole, even tying into the Department of Transportation, talking about turning Interstate I-175 into a boulevard, connecting it down south, which is a predominantly black area of St. Petersburg. So it's like, without the baseball component, now we can have this way broader conversation.
And Mayor Kreisman had a great plan because he was going forward without the Rays because he realized Stu was never going to do a deal. He couldn't do a deal with them. All the mayors have realized that. All the people, everybody knows now you can't do a deal. That's why we're moving forward. So, yeah, now what Kreisman's vision was, I think there was a health component with Moffitt that was going to move in there. All these things bring money to the table. They don't suck it out like baseball did.
So the community is now realizing that it's really not about baseball. It's about the ownership, and it's about that connectivity between the owners and the public and the government and making it all work together.
Yeah.
So let's get back to this kind of, you've tracked this thing for the last long time, but at least
17 years.
Right. 17 years.
I've been following this saga.
all of this. And to be honest, the Rays saga for me for the past few years, I guess since, I'm trying to think, the first time where I started paying attention, I'm pretty sure it was 2019. There was a mayoral race here in Tampa. All the politicians were talking about, would you support public dollars towards a stadium? A lot of the politicians had no will. I wouldn't give a penny towards any stadium in Hillsborough. That's kind of where I started paying attention. Obviously, this is your job. You've been digging deep. But in the last month or so, things have really heated up with these different groups. So you've had them on your show. You've had a couple different representatives of those groups on your show. Talk to me now. I know certain information that you can't say publicly. I'm sure a lot of us will learn more in the coming weeks.
Yes.
But having fun with this, what do you think is going to occur without revealing specifics and names? We talked earlier before we went live. We were just kind of shooting the shit. We had the map up. We were talking about Ybor City. David, pull up that proposed stadium in Ybor.
Yeah, let's have some fun with this.
Let's have some fun. But I guess
finally,
first, before we have fun and speculate, did you finish telling us what we know, the facts, right? Multiple groups looking at purchasing the Rays.
Mm-hmm.
The Rays are exiting for sure the St. Pete deal.
Yep.
We know the Rays are going to play at Steinbrenner, which is the Yankee spring training. That's on the Tampa side, right next to Raymond James.
Mm-hmm.
What else am I missing here?
Okay, so what's new here in this? Because a lot of people will say, well, we've heard all this before, JP, and nothing ever happens. And that's 100% right, because Stu has been the issue. And for a long time, Major League Baseball owners thought it was Hillsborough and St. Pete. And, I think the media thought it was the area and the market, because those are all false narratives that have been peddled by the media, local and national. I've tried to debunk a lot of them, but that was what existed. What's different now is Major League Baseball has finally figured out that Stu's the problem. They said, wait a minute. So you told us it was Hillsborough's problem. Oh, we believed you. And then you told us it was St. Pete's problem. Then you told us you wanted to go to Montreal and do a split season. We were never going to let you do that. That was a harebrained idea. So we said no to that. But then you said, okay, you're going to get this done in St. Pete. And they gave you everything. They literally gave you everything and more. This is the greatest boondoggle sweetheart deal. And you still can't get it done?
Right.
Okay. I think Manfred finally went, all right, I think we understand who the problem is. And I've been talking to all these people, the former mayors, Bill Foster, Kreisman, everyone who's negotiated with the Rays. I didn't wake up one day and just be anti-Stu. And I have nothing personal against Stu Sternberg whatsoever. It's all about how he's run the team and how he's screwed people over on both sides of the bay. This development should have been done already. It should already be at Ybor Stadium. Tropicana Field would already be developed. I mean, think about the millions, billions of dollars in jobs and construction and everything that already would have been done on both sides of the bay had he gone through with the original deal for $890 million. So now it's much more expensive. One person held that up, and that was Stu Sternberg. I mean, that's not in the best interest of Tampa Bay, any of that. And that was I think, a very reasonable deal in Hillsborough. But the point is, Major League Baseball finally realizes it's him. And they understand that Hillsborough doesn't want to work with them. St. Pete, not going to work with them. Nobody trusts them anymore. I've talked to investors that were approached by the Rays in the last few months to sell shares of the team to make up the funding gap. And they said no, because what do? They go read the lawsuit against his former partners. Nobody wants to do business with them anymore. And why would they, given the landscape of what we've seen, how they deal with things? So he has no allies left. Major League Baseball is threatening to take away his revenue sharing dollars, which is unprecedented.
This episode is brought to you by the official remodeler of the TBD Podcast, Kohler House Remodeling Company. Built on the belief that every homeowner deserves a premium experience, Kohler House is redefining high-end home remodeling with their commitment to integrity, craftsmanship, and quality communication. Their work speaks for itself, from condos in the towers of Channelside to 100-year-old homes in South Tampa, creating spaces that are both stunning and functional. What sets Kohler House Remodeling Company apart is their dedication to not only transforming homes into beautiful spaces, but to elevating the standard of residential general contracting. From concept to completion, every detail is handled with care, ensuring a process that's as smooth as the results are impressive. To learn more, check out our partner's website at kohlerhouse.net, KOHLERHAUS.net. This episode is sponsored by Chansey Architecture and Interior Design. Rooted in the heart of Ybor City for over 35 years, Walt Chansey and his team are trailblazers in their field. Beyond their work across the United States and the Bahamas, Chansey has shaped some of the most iconic residential and commercial spaces that serve as gateways to Cigar City, including Casa Marti and Casa Gomez. What sets Chansey Design apart is their ability to preserve the soul and character of historic buildings while seamlessly integrating modern design and functionality. They blend tradition with innovation, creating spaces that honor the past while meeting today's needs. Check out their work at www.chanseydesign.com.
They can't force him to sell because he hasn't violated any of the covenants that would trigger that, like a Marge Schott deal way back when. But that's a whole different thing. So what levers do they have to pressure him? We'll take away your revenue sharing money. We'll take away your central fund money, which means he's going to lose money on this team if he retains possession of it.
The MLB would take away.
Yes.
Wow.
Unprecedented.
That sounds like a rarity.
Yeah. This was reported in The Athletic. Yeah. It's never happened before. That's how nasty things have gotten. When they start saying publicly and threatening an owner about taking away their revenue sharing dollars, that means that owner is not behaving.
And why would and would the MLB care? Because it kind of makes baseball look bad if you have this owner that's not working with people.
Here's why baseball cares.
Sure.
They can't move forward with expansion until they get this deal done in Tampa, because now the A's have their deal in Las Vegas. So once the 2 stadium deals with the Rays and the A's are done, they can expand. And they didn't want either one of those. Well, they didn't want the Rays moving to another market and taking up an expansion market because that would take money away from the other owners.
Right.
So why baseball wants to move on is they want a deal done here so then they can expand in Portland, in Nashville, in Charlotte, wherever they want to go. And then they get the expansion fees, which are expected to be $2.2 billion per team. So that's $4.4 billion that the other owners get to finally divvy up. But they've been waiting on Sternberg to get this done. And they've been believing him that it's all the market's fault. But when Manfred came down here, he saw, listen, now we know it's not the market's fault. It's Stu's fault. So, he was approached by this other group and said, we can get the deal done. We're Tampa people. We can get the deal done. We have deep pockets. We want to build in Tampa, which is where baseball wants it done. So Manfred said, screw it. Stu, you need to sell. You've screwed this up. You need to sell the team. If you don't sell, we're going to take away your revenue sharing, because they have a group that wants to keep the team. They don't want to lose this market. Major League Baseball, they're now negotiating a whole new TV deal. BSBN is gone. That was announced a couple weeks ago. So now they're looking at other big TV deals. This is the 11th largest television market. They cannot lose this market while they're negotiating these other streaming deals and national deals, because that means money. That's money in your pocket.
People don't realize that. Yeah. Tampa Bay area, St. Pete, massive media market.
Massive
media market.
Because it's always called a small market. It's not. It's a top 11 market, 11, 12. It kind of vacillates. But anyway, So they're not leaving this market, which I've told people forever. They're not leaving. Everybody's, oh, Stu's just going to sell and leave. He can't do that. You got to have 2/3 approval by the owners, who he's been screwing over for years. So not getting a stadium deal.
So real quick, just so me and listeners understand, the MLB has to approve, so to speak, this sale.
Yes.
And in combination with that, the other owners, right, have to majority approve the sale.
Yes.
So Stu can't do whatever he wants. He can't be like, no, I'm going to keep the team forever and screw this whole thing up.
He could try to keep the team, but he's going to lose money because he's not getting the revenue sharing.
Right.
So so he's cornered. He can't do a deal in Hillsborough. He can't get a deal done in St. Pete. And he can't sell the team and move it on unilaterally.
Hence these different groups that have came to him and said, hey, look, let's make a deal. Now, what kind of deal are we talking about? How much money do you think this thing's valued at?
So Forbes has it valued at $1.25 billion. Okay. Typically their valuations when their sale comes is about 20% under. So I think it's probably worth closer to 1.4, 1.5. Now, if you had a stadium deal in place, it could be worth more depending on how that would work. You have a stadium deal in place and you take all of that money up front and then leave and it doesn't go to the new group, then that affects the price. Money in, money out, right? So I think it's worth about 1.5. I think Stu wants, I've been told 2.2, which that ain't happening. So now you have a intransigent owner who wants 2.2 billion. It's worth about 1.5 at the most. I heard the offers. I heard Dan Doyle offered 1.8 million last year and was rebuffed. So I think he's got to do a fair deal. At some point, he has to realize that he has no options, and he's got to take a fair deal. And that's where we're at right now.
And whoever buys it is inheriting this whole saga and has to figure out the future.
Right.
To me, that buyer is not going to be willing to give the current owner what he wants. Right?
Right. But every penny you give to the current owner over the value of the team, the actual value of the team is money that's coming out of your pocket to run the team in terms of payroll and build a new stadium. So the more he pushes a tough bargain on the next group, the less money that group has to run the team.
Is personality the reason why this whole shit show has unfolded? Like, how could it get so bad to where a sports team, and really a sports team owner, has pissed off the fans, the local municipalities, the league? I can't imagine the players appreciate all of this BS.
No.
It's like, is it personality? Is it ego? Like, how did this happen?
Listen, I try not to make this personal, and I try to be as respectful as I can to Stu. But the people I've talked to that have negotiated with him, and it's not one, it's in the dozens, have universally all said the same thing. Impossible to work with, moves the goalposts constantly, says one thing one day, says another thing the next. From a personality standpoint, is not easy to deal with. I'm not going to get, I don't want to make this personal. I don't want to make it about personality, but I'll just tell you, the people that have negotiated with him and worked with him can't stand working with him. Wow. It's very, very difficult. And as you know, when you're trying to get real estate deals done, especially something of this size, people have to work together. Nothing's going to be like, you're going to get a framework of a deal done with, especially when it's public-private. And there's going to be a lot of things that come up that aren't necessarily spelled out in a contract. But you got to give and take, or move forward and work together to get a desired result. And doing that with him is next to impossible. And that's why a deal has never been done.
Wow. Okay, yeah. Let's so we've talked about what we know, right? You've got multiple groups looking at this thing. Let's talk about the viability of where this whole project could take place. Carter McCain, the attorney for one of the groups, described their vision is very comprehensive. Like I said earlier, they're really not looking at this from strictly a baseball perspective. This is like large scale entertainment district, probably bigger than Water Street. We were talking before the show. This is the biggest business / real estate development deal probably in the region's history that is about to take place.
Yep. Absolutely. And when you talk about, and this makes it the biggest story in my mind, maybe from a business sports standpoint in the history of Tampa Bay. First of all, you're talking about a development. It's probably Water Street was what, 3.5 billion. What they were proposing in St. Pete was 6.5 billion. And this footprint in Ybor City is a very similar one. It's 80 acres, right? The
Yes.
gas, yeah. So 88 compared to 88. So I think, yeah, and you talk about Ybor Harbor.
Well, yeah, that's what I want to do, David. So first of all, David, so here we go. So David's pulled up here. This is Ybor Harbor. Okay. So first of all, when was this article from, David? This might be years and years old.
I think it's
probably.
I have another article.
2 years old?
2018.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the original. Oh, sorry. That's the original Ybor
So
plot. Yeah.
this was the original Ybor plot in 2018, which is
Right.
before the mayoral race, which I was describing in 2019. So this has been going on a hell of a long time.
Yeah.
And the original stadium was supposed to be in Ybor City, south of 7th Avenue, right on the north side of the Selman Expressway, which really is a great location. You've got the interstate access, you're close to the trolley, you've got all the entertainment stuff on 7th Avenue. To me, I think our community on this side of the bay was super excited about this.
And Brightline
And
station is not far away.
The Brightline.
And think about what that
Stadium.
opens up, because, and this is a key to the entertainment district. 70 million people a year come to Orlando for the theme parks. Now you're going to give them an opportunity to jump on a train, get to Tampa in 40 minutes, and go to a baseball game, go to a concert, no parking. You don't have to stay over. You don't have to jam up I-4 and take 5 hours to get there and back. So that's a huge part of it. So now if you're going to build an entertainment complex, you're tapping into that 70 million people. You're going to market over there. So, hey, come to Tampa. See what we got. Just jump on the train. So that's a big deal.
So go to Google Earth, because I want to describe this for the listeners, and I hope people watch this on video too. So Nucio Parkway is the angled road.
Yeah.
Right there, right where the roundabout is. North of that, David, zoom out at just one little tad. Well, a couple little tads where the road curves. So that is where the proposed Brightline station would go. So you've got
a 5-block walk?
Nothing.
Yeah.
Multiple interstate access, high-speed rail to Orlando, Selman Expressway, which now has extended to St. Pete. You can take that expressway right there all the way downtown through South Tampa, all the way over Gandy to St. Pete. So St. Pete serviced, the whole Tampa Bay region serviced through vehicular traffic. You've got the high-speed rail from Orlando. You've got Daryl Shaw's incredible development, Gasworks, which is massive.
Yep.
Thousands of units of new residences, tons of retail. Zoom in, David, on the little marketplace they're going to do. They're basically building, think of like an Armature Works. Yeah, that building right there. So like multiple food vendors. They're going to have some retail, a little bit of shopping in there, and a baseball stadium potentially in the area too. To me, it's the perfect spot. The other option was south of the Selman, right here.
I like this one.
Ooh, me too. Waterfront view.
Oh my God. That's
now,
awesome.
If they could do a sort of
that
so look at this thing. First of all, looks like a spaceship. You probably have a view of downtown Tampa, sitting in the stands. You could probably see the water. What do we have? Scroll down. Looks like Daryl Shaw had a quote. What does it say? City of St. Pete says, "We believe the historic gas plant district is the best location." Owner of the site, Daryl Shaw, did not want to comment on the stadium design, which came from a firm from Kansas City. The Rays, which had that design made, did not want to comment either. So
we're not married to that design, but anything on the water.
Sure.
Awesome.
But like going back to maybe 2017, 18, 19, you've followed this since then. So it's like, were the Rays putting out these different ideas to try to entice, Pinellas or Hillsborough to come to them and be like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They've always been in Hillsborough County, like up to even up to the time that they were telling everybody in St. Pete, we're here to stay. Like literally,
I've
while
heard
they're
so much about
this is true,
right
this
there.
is true.
They've almost someone Frank DiGiacomo was on the show. Like this was so long ago, David. This is before you were producing in-house full time. This was like October 2023. We were just talking shit, and it was right when the Rays deal first got announced with this whole new development in St. Petersburg, and we were joking like, no, they're using this whole thing over in St. Pete to get Tampa people and the public and the business owners and the government to say, wait,
right.
don't do St. Pete, come over back to Tampa. And it kind of seems like that's what's happened. You know?
No, they were literally talking to Tampa while they were signing the agreement over there. That's how they do business.
Jesus Christ.
And which also leads a little bit more to my theory that they never planned on building the baseball stadium. I think Stu was going to get the real estate profits, the $700 million or whatever it was, not build the stadium, and then take that money and use it to build in Tampa.
Someone told me, I actually
Which
did.
would have been horrific.
That
would have been even Major League Baseball couldn't stomach that. Like, no, you're not going to steal money from one city to build a stadium in the rival city. We're not doing that.
When I heard, I didn't know the intricacies of that deal, and when I heard that the real estate development was a part of it, I couldn't believe it. I was like, wait a second. The Rays owner has a stake, a massive stake, in the real estate development project. It's not just the stadium. It's like he's a part of this whole thing. He's going to make a fortune from it. The taxpayers are spending God knows what. I thought, what?
Yeah. The city of St. Pete dodged a bullet, and so did Pinellas County. And they know they did. They know they did now. So, yeah, I think either one of these sites is very doable. And if Daryl Shaw is part of this group, which I have heard he is, I don't know if he's a direct investor, but this is his property.
Sure.
But I believe that he's part of this group. And obviously, if he owns, why do you think this has been vacant for so long?
Right.
He's felt all along that this was still going to be an opportunity. So he's built around it, right? But that plot of land is still open. When Ken Hagan came on my show and said Ybor is still open, I was like, oh, okay then.
Right.
So I think it's this best spot. I mean, a lot of people think Fairgrounds, and I'm not. I think Fairgrounds I think that's doable too. Well, I think it's very doable.
Daryl Shaw, of course, has a massive interest in making this happen, right? It would be a total anchor to this entire Gasworks Ybor Harbor project.
Right.
But let's talk about those other sites. So kind of the other options, right? Fairgrounds, which kind of makes sense. You've got that drivability. In my head, though, it's not terrible, but it's more like 20 years ago. That makes sense. I think in today's world, with this whole talk of walkability, interconnected community, right? Entertainment district. Yeah. To me, this site at the Fairgrounds does not speak to that.
I agree.
So I would imagine with what Mr. McCain said and with what everything you've talked about on your show about these different groups, I don't think this is what they've described their vision could be.
I think it's workable because with the, I think when you're looking for more components of investing, obviously there's a group right across the interstate that would be very interested in being part of that, the Hard Rock Seminole Indians, which they have obviously a huge chunk of money.
For sure.
So I think that's component, and I've been told that they're not sold on an area yet. So, and here's another really interesting thing that I was told. From people that bought and sold different shares of baseball teams over the years and have been involved in acquisitions. It's possible that these three groups we have now could change. In other words, baseball is very adept at saying, getting a couple partners from this group, say, how would you like to join this group? Let's put this group together. So kind of taking an all-star team and bringing all of these investors together under one umbrella. And so I think the kind of the constitution of all these different groups could change.
That makes sense, right? Yeah. Because different individuals, different business interests, different locations all matter. Like if there was a group that was ready to roll and they were all excited about Ybor, but Daryl Shaw was in a different group, they might drag Daryl Shaw into that group.
Or if there was big money over here, say that the Barlow group was over here, and they wanted to bring him over into this other group that Major League Baseball might be more favoring, maybe that might be something that would happen. So I don't think that people are necessarily locked into the groups they're with.
How big is the blessing, so to speak, of the league?
Big.
It's big.
It's big.
So to have someone in one of these particular groups that has that connection.
Yeah. And let me say this. I don't travel in these groups, but I know a lot of people who do. And just through my work in this market for so many years. And, baseball wants to be associated with certain people, businessmen, businesses, what have you. When you get into the ownership club, it's a big deal. Right. And they want people of like-minded people who are going to be good partners. so they don't have situations like they're having with Stu Sternberg right now.
Mm.
So I think in part of the Stu problem has always been he didn't have huge deep pockets. He wasn't a billionaire when he started. He is now. The market and the Braves have made him a billionaire. So, and when he sells this, he's going to make a huge profit. So good for him.
Sure.
Awesome. And let me also say this about Stu real quick. He did done a great job making this team a winner. Now, on a self-imposed shoestring budget, he could have spent a lot more, but they've done an incredible job on their budget staying competitive. The third most wins since, I think, the last 10 years.
Wow.
Now, I think there's a totally different financial commitment needed to win a World Series, which he's not willing to do, but I will give him great credit for turning this team into a winner on the field. But, man, what this group, Eric Neander, Kevin Cash, this front office could do with an actual payroll, instead of having limited to 80 million, get to the average of 150 million, would be incredible. They would be World Series legitimate contenders every year.
Do you think there's an opportunity where other people buy in to the current organization, Stu stays, along with a couple new owners?
I think if that were going to happen, it would have happened by now.
Sure.
And I also think that Major League, again, this is the new development. Major League Baseball has finally realized that Stu's not the guy. So why would they want to funnel in perfectly good investors and still have Stu being the managing general partner when he's difficult to deal with?
Right.
Why not just get a whole new ownership group in there? See, I just think the whole chess match has been orchestrated, in my opinion, by Rob Manfred wonderfully since he realized, after the votes and everything blew up, that Stu was the issue. I think at that point he realized, okay, we got a group over here, and I'm told the governor, Ron DeSantis, is aware of them and has had conversations about this. So whereas before you weren't going to get any state cooperation with the Rays, and you can connect the dots politically on that, okay? The Rays are definitely not in DeSantis camp. So, but now this group coming in very much is. They are very much connected to the governor. So I think there's going to be state support, which means more funding. And why wouldn't they? If they're going to get a huge, the state has an investment in Brightline working. The state has an investment in more tax revenue down here. The state has an investment right there in that state fairgrounds right there.
That's what I was just going to ask. Does the state of Florida own that real estate?
Yes, they do.
Well, that kind of changes my...
So that's why I think it's still an option. And I know for a fact that DeSantis has met with this group and has had conversations about this group being in the Tampa area, moving to Rays Stadium over there.
That changes my needle a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that the state of Florida owns that, you're telling me that now the state is at least in a conversation with this group.
I mean,
it makes sense
that fairgrounds. First of all, that amphitheater is god awful.
It's pretty bad.
It's awful.
It's pretty bad.
The Hurricanes are bad, but having them take care of Tropicana Field and that place.
Wow, it is state property.
Yeah,
you're right.
Yeah, so I think that's why I think it's still in play. And look at this place.
No, it's huge.
It's a huge plot of land. It's in a great location, 301 and also, all these buildings are so old and dilapidated. The Expo Hall, and it's just, imagine what you could do with that area in terms of an entertainment district. And it's, Brightline obviously would make a stop.
You don't have the city component. Like I said earlier, it doesn't fit that vision. But now that I'm thinking about it, it could be a drive to, it's even on I-4. That's where the Brightline train's going. Right. I guess you could have a stop.
Yeah.
Plus the Hard Rock.
I prefer downtown because you have more walkability. You have more scooter ability, trolley ability.
Sure.
Which this does not. It
does not, but the state conversation changes kind of what my personal prediction would have been, which was Ybor. That seems like the natural route. Let's talk about the third option in my head. You probably have more places, but Raymond James, that whole area, that's all county-owned land, isn't it?
Yeah.
So right north of Ray J, across the street from Steinbrenner, that huge lot, to me, you could do a stadium there. You've already got the draw, a lot of fans. They fill that stadium up for the Savannah Bananas, Taylor Swift. You know what I mean? Like it's all
great in and out.
Great in and out. You've got major roadways surrounding it. You already have a baseball component there. Is there any?
You want me to blow your mind with this idea?
Go ahead.
So the Bucks need a renovation to Raymond James Stadium. That's coming up.
Oh, I like this.
So you got to put a roof on it. and expand it in some way to get Super Bowl, get Super Bowls and national championship, although there's thoughts that we're going to get the 2029 national championship game. So it's coming up on its 30-year lease. The Bucs are going to ask for something, but they haven't asked yet. So I know this sounds a little crazy. And everybody's like, well, how are you going to have money for the Bucs and the Rays? All right. What if you build a entertainment district right there? Okay. And you put it in between the football stadium and a baseball stadium. And you have this beautiful entertainment district in the middle. You can do development on the, residential, do the whole thing around that whole thing. And then you have a sliding roof. Because you need a roof for Raymond James Stadium sometime that just slides over for football when you want it enclosed, or if you want it open for baseball, in April and May, slide it over the football stadium. And then when it gets hot in the summer, you slide it back over the baseball stadium. In the nice weather in football, you could have it open. You slide it back open. I mean, it's not that they've done it in other places of the world.
Well,
but it sounds a little crazy, but
I don't think it
kind of
sounds
killed
crazy.
two birds with one stone.
I think it sounds badass. I think the problem, though, is the politicians here locally, especially at the county level. I can think of a couple commissioners that would say, we have no reason to subsidize billionaires and spend money on something like that.
Listen, I think first and foremost, the new baseball group coming in is fully aware that they're not going to be like Stu and ask for, $2.4 billion in public money. They have deep pockets. They want to finance this themselves and control the real estate and make money off the real estate like the Braves did. That's been a humongously successful. So they have the deep pockets. They want to invest. They're developers. They want to develop. Let them develop. And if the county's going to give them land to develop on, well, yeah, they'll put in money. So they'll put in a significant chunk for the stadium, right? The developers. So that's a third. Say it's a third the developers, and then you get a third from the actual team itself, and then you get a third from the county.
Atlanta's an awesome example because didn't they do both their football and baseball stadium in relatively around the same time?
Yeah.
Because is it called I don't think it's called the Mercedes-Benz.
Yeah, it is.
It is.
That's the football stadium. So I'll tell you this whole story because I was actually in Atlanta when this whole thing went down. I was live on the air when the announcement came on. We broke the story on the Braves Stadium. And it was literally done within 3 months.
Wow.
And not a freaking peep got out. Not a peep. Nobody knew what was happening. So what was going on was Arthur Blank wanted to build a new stadium in downtown Atlanta. And the Braves were playing in Turner Field, which was left over from the Olympics. But it was in South Atlanta, south of downtown. All Braves fans live in the north part of town. Gwinnett, all these counties, Cobb County, where it certainly is.
Right.
So their whole fan base, when they first opened, they had 3 million people coming to the stadium. 20 years in, it dwindled to about 1.7 because the fans getting to the park, all their fans were north. So they were like, we need to build a park where our fans are on the north side of town. So they went to the mayor's office. The mayor's like, look, we don't have it. We're helping Arthur Blank. We're going to put in, 200, 300 million for that. We don't have money to build you a new entertainment complex in the South Atlanta part. And it's a bad location for you anyway. So the mayor was smart enough to say, you want to move to Cobb County? Go ahead. I don't have to pay for it. You guys are still in Atlanta.
Right.
For the most part, all my constituents can still go to Braves games and I don't have to pay for it. See ya.
Yeah.
So they went over there and they financed the whole entertainment district. The Braves did. Cobb County paid for half the stadium. And they have built, well, they hadn't built one single office building in 10 years since they announced the Brave Stadium. They've built 10 more huge office complexes.
Wow.
Which that real estate tax money goes to Cobb County. Now, it doesn't necessarily factor. Now, when people look at the deal, economists can take, pieces here and there. They don't have to count that revenue as direct revenue, but it's indirect revenue that has come from them building that Brave Stadium. And so every hot dog, every beer, everything that's sold in that entertainment district of Battery goes into paying off their debt on the stadium. It's exactly what all these new stadium groups are doing.
Right.
It's a special taxing district so basically the people that use the stadium are paying for the stadium. And that's what Ken Hagan has said. In any baseball stadium it's done, we're going to protect the taxpayers. Not going to be property tax. The SITS was just approved, so we have more SITS money. And It's his feeling that they can pay for a portion of a baseball stadium, but all of this new development, the Glazers are going to have to pay part of it. The new baseball team's going to have to pay part of it, and then the county and the city are going to have to chip in as well. But fair deals and more user type taxes than any property tax money at all going to it.
I guess historically, right? Like Raymond James was built, 35 years ago? Something like that. So maybe
it'll be 30 years in 2027.
2027, which is right around the time you kind of have to start.
That's life of stadiums is supposedly 30 years, which is crazy when you think about it.
It is kind of
because Raymond James Stadium is awesome.
Coliseum in Rome is still there 2,000 years later. What the hell?
Right.
But
you look at Raymond James, they just redid all the luxury boxes. They just redid the sound system, the video boards. I mean, you don't need a whole new stadium.
You don't, but you definitely need to entice those big events.
You need climate control.
Right. And you got to have Super Bowl's going to want all that sort of stuff for predictability.
Thus the sliding roof.
Exactly.
It's brilliant.
I'm on board. I'd vote for it.
Back into Kansas City in the 70s when they built Kauffman Stadium next to Arrowhead.
Yeah.
There was a design of a movable roof on
with
wheels.
2 stadiums back to back.
Yeah. They would just move a roof
with a central,
They never built it, but they're right next to each other now. They're Kauffman Stadium.
See if you can find that, David. Type, I guess, Kansas City.
I've seen the renderings.
Stadium concept.
I've seen the renderings. It's Googleable, if that's a word.
Googleable.
So they were going to roll this big roof back and forth across the 2 stadiums.
I mean, if you're going to have 2 stadiums back to back in Florida and have that predictability with weather, but also enjoy the great, beautiful weather we do have on certain days, it kind of makes sense. I just know it's going to cost a freaking fortune.
Yeah, it's going to cost. It ain't cheap.
But here's the thing about costing a fortune and cheap. We got to have it. This market is ripe for sports. People here love sports. We're in a huge media market. We got to figure out a way to get it done.
And we're getting passed by. Atlanta's getting everything.
Yeah.
Because they have that climate controlled dome and they've got, they get the SEC championship game. Is that it? Oh yeah. You found it. Oh, cool.
This is badass. So what
Truman
year was
Sports,
this?
in the 60s.
1960s.
Yeah, look at that. Oh, cool. You found
and those things would slide back and forth to cover each. Wow.
Oh, I'm glad you found this. Yeah, so it's doable.
It's doable.
It's totally. That's a big track, and it just goes back and forth. Yeah, see? And that's how it was actually built. You see the rail?
That is the exact setup on Dale Mabry right there.
Yes.
Huh.
And that's 1960s.
All right. Well, so we've laid down maybe the 3 options. So would you consider do you think that there's a scenario where they stay where they're at? Do you think one of these particular groups go through with the sale and they stay where they're at? Or do you think their ambition is going to exceed Tropicana Field?
I don't see how the Trop works. Neither of these groups that I've talked to has any desire to build in St. Pete because there's no money there.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that sounds bad to St. Pete, but just if you're going to put $6 billion into an entertainment district, you want location,
sure.
right? You want the most desirable location, and obviously anything on the east side of the bay brings Orlando into play. I mean, and talking. This is a 30-year plan for a stadium, right? So, I mean, how big? I mean, you've driven I-4. I mean, the development is just off the chain. It's ridiculous.
It's the entire way.
It's going to be one big city within 5 years. It's going to be one big city, Orlando, right? So it's going to be, just like, Miami and Jupiter are now connected on the East Coast.
Exactly.
It's one big city.
Yeah. We're going to have our own Central Florida megapolis.
Yeah. And this is what this entertainment district is. It's going to be
and so why put it at the edge, right? Why? Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
Makes zero sense.
So if we're going to talk about Ybor, Fairgrounds, Raymond James area, right, as the 3 potential sites, prediction wise, I feel personally, not even prediction, I hope it's Ybor. I hope it's Ybor because you've got the Brightline station, you've got what Daryl Shaw's doing, you're downtown, you're connected to mass transit, you've got the trolley. High-speed rail coming in. To me, that's the location. You already have an entertainment district on 7th Avenue. You imagine going to a ball game, maybe you do a ball game, you grab lunch, lightning game, partying, seventh. I mean, to me, it's like
all there.
you've got, it's all right there. It's all right there. Now,
and the residential portion is a big part of this, right? I mean, 10 years ago, how many people lived in downtown Tampa?
400 in the county jail.
And now, where are we at with all the apartment complexes and condos? And by the way, those aren't stopping. And if we go back to the Ybor map, you can see what's not developed and what gets developed.
Oh, exactly. I mean, pull up to like a gas.
You think about it. If you're in South Tampa, okay, and you want to ride your bike to the baseball stadium,
right?
There's going to be pathways where you can get on Bayshore and ride your bike to Ybor Harbor.
See, that's the thing. There's so much momentum in the area,
or your
right?
E-bike.
They've talked about extending the Riverwalk on the east side. So imagine you get, you're at Armature Works. You can walk or bike all the way around downtown. It's all connected.
Yeah.
To me, you already have the puzzle pieces in place with other private enterprise momentum, meaning Daryl Shaw with massive investments, other developers with huge investments, Water Street, future phases, right? It's like there's so much momentum in the urban core of Tampa. To me, that's where you add gasoline to that fire.
What's going in by north of Amalie Arena? That big clear where the old silos still are? It's all cleared out now except for the silos.
That's future phases of Water Street. Right now they're working on realigning the street grid. So first of all, the Selman exit on the south side to the northwest of the arena, that's going to get reconfigured and wrap all the way around to Florida Avenue. There's going to be a new exit on Whiting, which is the thick road at the top of Water Street. And then north of Whiting, so that'll connect through where am I at? The brick road all the way up north.
See that brick road?
Yes.
See that plot just to the south of it?
Yeah.
What's going there?
Well, first of that exit,
baseball stadium.
That exit from the Selman Expressway is going to go on that brick road and connect.
Okay.
All those railroad tracks are removed on the right.
Yeah.
So you've got another footprint for basically what you kind of already see on the south side. More of the same.
So that's all. That could be residential over towards
all mixed use. They'll probably event.
You got the cruise port there and the baseball stadium. Come on.
Well, they also SPP owns the lot on the north side, that big lot. The parking, there's a lot of empty parking lots. How do I describe this, David? Yeah, right there. They own that. My thought was you could do it there, but
the baseball stadium?
I don't think it's big enough.
No, I don't think it's big enough. The one on the right might be big enough.
But they're saving that, I think, for the condos and office building and all that.
Which is why, but that's, whoever moves those condos go in there, all this residential that's coming up, that feeds the ballpark.
That feeds the ballpark. And you already have mass transit. You hop on
and the
trolley,
entertainment district.
Boom.
Yeah. So it feeds all that. And it seems like the most natural area. If you're looking for somewhere that's going to bring in more people from outside of the region, so anybody that's coming for a cruise during baseball season, are they going to
Damn, I didn't even think about that.
Are they going to add an extra night to go to the baseball park?
Why the hell wouldn't you?
Why wouldn't you?
Especially if it's connected to the historic 7th Avenue, entertainment, bars.
Can you imagine how that's going to get cleaned up if the baseball stadium and that entertainment district comes in? Whatever that entertainment district's going to be, you'd also have 7th Avenue not far away, which is going to benefit as well.
It would accelerate
the historic part of it.
Yeah, it would accelerate what I believe is just the inevitable kind of nature of the transitioning area of Ybor City. I think you put a ballpark there, it only expedites that whole area turning around.
Yeah.
Because then you've got many, many more people from all areas of Tampa Bay coming, enjoying, visiting these local restaurants, right? Supporting these businesses that have been there through the good and the bad, that have been there for a long time, but then also, adding in new businesses, new restaurants that are going to be wanting to come in the area and all that sort of stuff. I think to me, Ybor would be a killer position. And you have the right large business groups, business leaders that have stakes already planted here.
Yeah, that's a good angle.
That's a great angle.
When you look at it that way,
right?
With downtown in the back, I mean, that's just perfect. Here's the hockey stadium, here's the baseball stadium, and then Ybor City. It just
So where it says phase 1, David, just like put your that trolley stop. That's a new trolley stop that's going to go in.
That'd be right next to the ballpark.
Exactly. You take a trolley, you're going kind of anywhere in the urban core. They've talked about extending the trolley. Shit,
Yeah.
you could go from right here. Think about it. You cross the bridge, hop on the trolley, get dropped off. So my only thing with the Ybor side is this is what they had planned, right? So they're going to have to sacrifice some of these apartment buildings. So I don't know where the ambition lies, and I don't know the economics.
Well, I would guess that some of these other, if you extend past the gasworks now, all these Ybor Harbor, right? That's
Right.
going to be all residential. You can build. There's lots of room there to get rid of these old warehouses. Sorry, pickleball place.
Damn, they're going to be heated. Tampa pickleball crew.
What they're going to do is they'll probably build them a much nicer pickleball place than the air blimp hangar.
You know how popular? Have you driven by that place?
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's
crazy.
packed.
It's
I'm not a pickleballer, but like you drive by and the parking lot's full. Have you been, David?
Yeah, a couple times.
You've been a couple times.
But it's not. They could do so much better.
They could.
Right. And if they will.
Imagine that's the group that stops the Rays. The future.
That's never going to happen.
Yeah,
Although those pickleballers, man, I tell you what, they are intense.
They are. They're passionate.
They are
They're
intense.
passionate about their craft. I think you're right, though. You got enough room to move your residential wherever you need to go.
Yeah.
Whether the stadium's in Ybor Harbor
If
or
I had
in
money, I know where I'd be buying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what David said. David's like, honey, we got to buy some real estate in the Ybor area.
I'd get it now.
Get it now while
Get
it's
it now.
while it's not hot, right?
Yeah. I think the planets have finally aligned.
Right.
And we talk about this. This is going to be $5-6 billion here's my vision. Rays get sold in the next couple months to this Tampa-based group of all-stars. They're playing in Steinbrenner Field, which is going to be an unbelievable vibe. Packed every game, beautiful weather in April and May. I know it's going to get hot in the summer, but it's still going to be a great vibe. I think this team's going to be good this year. They have the pitching staff. If they only went out and got a big bopper like our own Pete Alonso or Kyle Tucker would be awesome. But, of course, this group can't do that or won't do that. But I still think they're going to be good. So they're going to be winning. They'll be playing outdoors. New Tampa group announced. We're going to build a stadium in Tampa. I mean, the momentum is just going to be huge. And I think from a political standpoint, I think the people will be okay with this, with the money. It's going to be a fair deal. It's not going to be like this boondoggle in St. Pete. And it's just finally Tampa Bay does it right. Finally, everybody, you guys don't go to the games. You don't do this. You're a terrible market, blah, blah, blah. It's because we didn't do it right. We did everything wrong.
Yeah.
Bad location, bad owners, bad stadium. Let's do it right.
The fans want this to happen.
And baseball is such a part of our fabric.
100%.
Everybody who grew up here played at Palmacito Little League, St. Pete Little Leagues,
Inter Bay.
Bay Shore, Inter Bay, West Tampa, Brandon. I mean, all these. Look at all these players that come out of this area. I mean, Wade Boggs, Fred McGriff, Hall of Famers. All these guys they've been saying for years. Tino Martinez. I talked to all these guys. Like, we got to be in Tampa, man. We got to be in Tampa. Got to be in Tampa. And it's finally going to come to fruition, and it's going to thrive here.
You believe it'll happen that soon? Within months, you'll have some sort of an announcement?
I do. I think, I listen to people, and I also follow the money. He's cornered. Stu's cornered. There's nowhere he can go now. If he keeps the team, he's going to lose money. If he can't, he can't build on either side. What's his play?
Does not being in the middle of a season have anything to do with it? Like, would they want to get it done before the season really kicks off?
I don't think it matters.
You don't think it matters?
I don't think it matters.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that they didn't wait till the 31st deadline maybe, expedites it so they can get. I mean, I think I think baseball would love to have the first game in Tampa be announcing a local Tampa group that's going to build a stadium in Tampa. Of course, they would love that. But I still think dealing with Stu is going to be hard.
What do you think about changing the name back to the Devil Rays?
Bingo.
Yeah.
But look at that great logo on your hat, man.
We need it.
As opposed to a starburst.
Dude, when I was a little kid going over to St. Pete, I remember with school, summer camp, various times we would go over and watch a game, and the Devil Rays were so fucking badass, man. The logo was cool. It kind of spoke to the marine environment.
Yeah.
Now they've shortened it to Rays, but they've changed the meaning. Now it's like Sun Ray. The logo's like a sun thing. Like, I don't It
And every
doesn't
time they
speak
do
to
the
me.
throwback to the Devil Ray uniforms, everybody
People go
loves it.
crazy.
They go
People
crazy.
love it.
Yeah, it's
People
awesome.
love it. I only I have this hat, and then I got my TB, like the traditional logo,
like
all
that.
blacked out, which I do like.
I like that.
You got to go back to the Devil
Oh
Rays.
yeah, and they would. And if they use this old design,
Yeah.
maybe we could throw that back up as we're getting everybody excited. That old design with the Devil Ray roof, the brick that kind of fits into Ybor City. I thought that was a great design. Then the translucent roof and the opening.
David, can you pull that up? My bad, dude. Are you busy? Are you busy? I hope you're not busy. We're live right now. Can you pull up the old stadium, the original rendering? Because
Ybor Stadium.
Yeah, Ybor Stadium. What they did that
Ybor
was
Stadium
cool was
one.
on the ground floor.
Yeah, that one. Look at that.
Dude, but
Big
so
translucent roof.
Zoom into that ground
Not that
floor,
one.
David, because they put up almost like a retail brick. You know what I mean? Like, look at the ground floor.
Yeah.
So imagine down there, it's like bars and live music and shit going on.
Yeah. A translucent roof that you could use.
Oh, yeah.
And you could use that. I mean, that stadium proper could be your new amphitheater because you got a translucent roof.
Look at that thing, man.
You know, instead of that garbage we got now. Like, and it just, you know, and I want, you got to figure out how to grow grass indoors or whatever you got to do, but just, I want real grass.
That thing's going to be a
Look at that.
greenhouse.
Oh, the one on the right. Yeah, the brick. I love the brick. Yeah, and then the open glass and the cool roof. Come on.
You're
That's it.
You're right though about the public's will, right? Like when this whole conversation started in 2017, 18, everyone was like, we ain't spending any taxpayer dollars. But now I think that the momentum has shifted and people really understand the vision. I think the public is more willing to put a share of their dollars
and the
towards
people
this.
matter.
Yeah.
Like I believe when this group is announced, I believe there's going to be universal, and I don't know this to be true, but this is how I would do it. I would trot out Wade Boggs and Fred McGriff and Kyle Tucker and Pete Alonso and every Major League Baseball big wig, Tino Martinez. I know I'm missing people. I apologize to all you great guys. That all these guys, you know, that have been involved with baseball for all this long, and you know, when you bring them in, you bring them, you know, back to the ballpark, and it's Tampa Central, and you these are the guys. I think the political will be, as long as you're not using property taxes, okay, this is going to be a taxing district where the people that are going to the ballpark, you know, and buying beers and hot dogs and burgers, that money's going to pay for it. Yeah. And we're going to get this huge entertainment district that we're going to be able to do not just, you know, baseball games, but we're going to use it for concerts. We're going to use it for graduations. We're going to use it for public events. It's going to be open 24/7. You can go to the restaurants inside the ballpark when they're not playing there.
Yeah.
We're going to have the rowdies there. We're going to have other events there. I mean, it becomes a community asset.
Exactly.
It's a huge community asset anchored, you know, by the way, we are a tourism destination. So it brings that into play as well.
The announcement has to be community focused.
Yeah, exactly. And it will be.
And it will be.
And it will be. And I think, you know, almost, you know, having the foil of Stu Sternberg as, you know, this was absentee ownership. You know, this is a New York guy who came down here, really didn't give a crap about Tampa Bay, never really moved here, never really embraced the community, never really, you know, never did. Not certainly to the way the Glazers and the Vinicks have done it, right? And yeah, I think the political will be there. And I think Ken Hagan's done a great job of explaining, even though some people don't listen, of how we're not going to do an unfair deal. Look, they could have done a deal with the Rays like St. Pete did, but Ken Hagan said, we're not doing that. We're not giving you a blank check.
Right.
Just to, you know, and that's what they're like, what are you going to pay us? You're like, well, no, you want a partner? You want to sit down and do a partnership? We'll talk. You want us to name a number? We're not doing that. Those conversations took place. So yeah, now Major League Baseball has a vested interest in getting the stadium done in Tampa with a Tampa-based group that has deep pockets.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have to worry about the shenanigans of ownership anymore. Don't have to worry about it being in the wrong side of the bay and having these built-in attendance issues. Finally going to do it right.
And I think the fan base, but even beyond the fan base, the community itself wants leaders to step up,
yes,
get this thing done, and let's move on and move forward. We will support the team, not if the ownership doesn't respect the community. And that's, I think, exactly what's happened over the last decade. We've all seen that happen.
And I don't think there was a lot of juice from the city in the Ybor deal. I don't think I think Buckhorn was the mayor at the time. I know he was. And I don't think he
I don't think the public was either, though.
Yeah, I think there was.
I
think part of that was on Stu. I think
Maybe.
part of that was on Stu, and maybe Bob didn't trust him, and he'd be right. So I think now whoever the new mayor is going to, when's the new mayor going?
27.
And
is the
Bob's
election.
going to run again, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
Whoever that mayor may be, maybe I'll run.
Now we're talking.
Mark the tape. If I were the mayor, I would support this, but in a fair way to the taxpayers. And I would communicate it to the taxpayers like this is going to be a legacy project for the city of Tampa and the region and an attractor to tourism and business. And we are going to, as a partnership with the Rays and our developers and the city, get immense public good out of this.
Yes.
And I would be, and if the new mayor wants me to be the mouthpiece for that, I'll be happy to do that too.
You absolutely should be.
You got to communicate that.
I think you're spot on. It's a sell to the community. It's a community asset, right? This whole deal. I thought the attorney on your show outlined it perfect. The way that group is looking at the deal. It's not. Yes, it's about baseball, but that's not what this whole thing is about. It's about creating a district of entertainment for the community. And I think when you sell it like that, the taxpayers and the public and just the fans and everyone can take a bite out of it and understand it. And then it's worth it.
And when you see the group that's going to lead it, you're going to go, yeah, we're all in this together.
We trust them.
Yes.
Because
we trust them. These are Tampa people. These are,
The fans and the public right now do have a distrust in the ownership, and I think when it's announced, well-founded and very fair assessment.
Yes.
And so when the new group is announced, the city and the region is familiar with that group. I think that's a beautiful thing because the people will go, awesome.
Yeah.
They're our savior. You know what I mean? They're going to do the right thing.
Right.
That plays into this a lot.
Huge part of it.
Yeah.
Because as you've seen, if you can't trust your partner, as St. Pete and Pinellas learned, that was going to be the biggest expenditure in the history of Pinellas in the city of St. Petersburg. And that's why I knew it would never happen.
I feel bad for them, but at the same time, they still
dodged the bullet.
But they still, exactly.
They dodged the bullet.
And they have the awesome opportunity of doing a real dedicated project that doesn't just benefit the ownership of the Rays. Goes way beyond that, connecting the communities. You could even do an amphitheater, city parks. You can still do an awesome job.
You could take the $1.5 billion you're going to get in income from the developers and maybe build a cruise port.
Damn.
The big ship, these big ships that can't get under the skyway anymore.
Oh, do it on the west side.
Yeah, on the beaches.
A cruise ship pulling up at the beach. I don't know if the environmentalists would appreciate that.
Whatever. Probably not.
JP Peterson, whatever. You're the man. Thank you for coming on the show today. I got
sliding roofs. I'm building cruise ports. You don't even want me to tell you about my drone tarp idea. You don't even want to hear that.
Well, you got to come back on the show as this situation evolves and as you get more crazy ideas about the cruise ship fantasies, right?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your show. JP Peterson Show. You've got it on YouTube. You also work with the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Yeah, I work doing the Jumbotron stuff on the home games. Love the Tampa Bay Lightning. So you'll see me in Amalie Arena. I've been in this market for 28 years now, covering local sports. There it is. And we are on YouTube, Facebook. I'm on my Facebook, JP Peterson, the JP Peterson Show. FanStream Sports Tampa is our company. We have affiliations in Dallas, Kansas City, we're building in Columbus as well. So if you're interested in investing in FanStream Sports, our franchises, please contact me, JP at the JPPetersonShow.com, JP at the JPPetersonShow.com. We're always looking for sponsors as well. We got a lot of great local companies that sponsor us and allow us to do what we do. We do 2 hours of all Tampa Bay sports-centric stuff. We break news, obviously. Been doing this for a long, long time. So we have a lot of fun. We have the best guests. There's Matt Laporta. There's my partner, Tim Ham. Matt Laporta, Gator Great. We've had Chris Lotfala on this week. David Sampson. Ronde Barber comes on all the time. Derek Brooks. We cover all Tampa Bay sports. So if you're looking for a podcast that covers all Tampa Bay sports, we do it each and every day, Monday through Friday from 10 to 12 live on YouTube and Twitter and Facebook. And then if you want to listen to it as a podcast or go back and listen on or watch on YouTube, you can as well.
And on YouTube, it is at FanStream Sports Tampa.
Yep. At
FanStream
Sports Tampa.
Beautiful. JP Peterson, thank you so much.
Garrett, thanks so much,
awesome.
man. I love your podcast.
Thank you.
I love all what you guys are doing. And, if I could just say this at the end, because I know, I've had my detractors and all this stuff as well. And my heart has always been in this because I want what's best for the Rays and Tampa Bay as a region. And that's why I've never been anti-St. Pete. I didn't grow up here. I came here 30 years ago, but it's my home now. So I don't have that kind of provincialism that I think a lot of people that grew up in St. Pete or other places do, like Tampa versus St. Pete. We need to get rid of that junk, man. Unity in the community, as my mentor Chris Thomas used to say. That's what we need. So it's not about St. Pete versus Tampa. It's never been about that.
Yeah,
we should hub the airport, the ballparks. All that should be in Tampa. And our beautiful beaches over there and our incredible eclectic downtown that is downtown St. Pete and all the awesome stuff that they have over there. That's their part of the deal. And then we have our part of the deal, and we come together and we make the most awesome freaking place to live in the world. I never want to live anyplace else, but we do need to get rid of this provincialism and look at ourselves as a 7-county unit. If we can only come together and do something with light rail and, so we got to get rid of this provincialism and come together as one. And there are actually places, I think in Minneapolis, St. Pete, where they have these groups that pitch in for ballparks. Like all 7 counties would do it. I mean, we can't get that together, but whatever.
Well, but
we need that regionalism to really make us be the best that we can be.
And I would echo that. I mean, I've talked about that a lot on the show. Is as much as a Tampanian I am, like this is where my roots are.
Yeah.
My wife is funny because she's like, can we move to St. Pete? St. Pete's better. They have better restaurants, coffee shops, kombucha, whatever. Like they got all the cool shit.
Yeah.
But I'm like, babe, if I wasn't so tied to Tampa, like if I didn't have a career to do here and everything I want to do and shape this city for the better, I would move to St. Pete. Yeah. It's fucking awesome. Yeah. The way I look at it is awesome. Like you though, like we're so much more powerful as a region. Yes. When you think about our assets as a region, incredible beaches, world-class airport, fantastic waterways. I mean, beautiful weather, and then historic stuff in Tampa, historic stuff in St. Pete, downtown St. Pete, the sports we have. I mean, we're so blessed to live in an incredible place. And I'm not talking about place as in Tampa. I'm talking about the Tampa Bay region, the whole region. Yeah. Totally agree with you. Yeah. JP, thanks again, man.
Take care.
All right. Bye, everyone. Hey guys, if you want to watch episodes just like this one, make sure to click right here to view the rest of our full episodes. And also make sure to subscribe by clicking right here. Thank you for watching.